Hello and welcome back, everyone. I am Seraphin, and thank you for joining me on episode 2 of Fire Emblem, the first American one. I'm going to keep making that distinction, I think. I'm either going to stick with this is the seventh Japanese one, or it's the first American one. I'm just going to call it Blazing Sword, that's what it's called. So here we are, episode 2 of Blazing Sword. Let's get right back into it. Chapter 1. Technically, the last one was the prologue, so this is actually Chapter 1. Oh yeah, the regular old odd couple here. Me being a real-life person and her being a digital interpretation of a woman. Man, story of my life for quite a while, up until recently. So we're going to a bigger-ish, more populous area of Sakai here. Oh, who the heck are those dudes? We're about to find out. So, apologies, I reviewed footage from the last video. I noticed my voice isn't quite as loud as it could be. I guess that's, I'm not projecting maybe as much as I normally would. I'm going to try to work on that, but I'll also see if I can find a way to get a little, maybe a little more gain on my voice. And tell me, please, if you think this game audio is too loud. I can always turn that down as well. It sounds like it's a decent balance, but maybe you have a different interpretation than I do. Oh, here we go. Look, it's someone other than Lynn. Lycia, that is another major country in this world. It's kind of like the equivalent of the US in that it's formed of like smaller city-states that all band together in one union, more or less. So think of them as states, and the whole country is the US, I guess. Kalen is one of those city-states, and that's where he's from. Lynn with the sick burns. I love the way they speak. Like, they did a very good job of making it sound like authentic old style speak. I guess it's not necessarily authentic, but it has a very fantasy style to the way that they speak, and I like that a lot. Unfortunately, some of the more recent editions of this game did not do quite the same thing, even though every iteration of this franchise is fantasy setting. So Kent is the red one, Sane is the green one. So this is actually a running archetype in Fire Emblem. There's always two cavaliers, these two knights on horseback that you get really early on. And yeah, we're about to have these guys. I'm kind of spoiling that, but whatever, it's happening in 5 minutes. There's always two. One's red and one's green. They've kind of made different interpretations of that particular archetype in recent times, but there's always two. Generally speaking, the red one is the tougher, hardier, more physically imposing one, and the green one is the more quick and nimble one. That is, however, reversed for this edition. So Kent is actually the speedy, quick one, and Sane is the tough, beat stick one. They're both pretty good. I'm not going to say they're, like, overpowered by any reach, but they're both solid. They're both very solid, usable units. It's not generally a good idea to use both of them for the whole stretch of the game. I will generally pick one, whichever one performs better during the first few chapters, and stick with that one. I have been known to train up both, but I guess it's my sense of efficiency. I want to only use one type of each unit so that I have a multitude of various options instead of the same thing more than over. Although I will say, mounted knights, cavaliers, and paladins are exceptionally versatile units. Some of the most well-rounded and usable units in the game. great combination of strength and mobility and defense and everything. They're perfect all around, pretty much. They don't excel at anything, but they're really good all around. Oh, who's this funny-looking guy? So here's a fun little plot twist. Lynn's not her real name. Well, it is, but it's short for Lindis. That's her real name. And now we get 4 dudes instead of just 2. Nah, I'm pretty sure she could still handle if there were 4, but... And out comes our boon friends, knights, to help. Oh, how chivalrous. But Lynn, of course, is a strong, independent black woman, and she will not let anybody fight for her. Oh yeah, this is Kent talking to me. He's like, "You, command us!" Notice he's not actually looking at me, though, because anybody except Lynn and the main characters don't do that. It's like, "You there, some random stranger, you, tell us what to do." That seems a little out of place, but what do I know? Alright, so now we have 3 units. We have Lynn, of course, same stats as she had last time, and now we have Kent. Kent and Sane start off pretty much the same, as far as, well, I guess that's not true. Sane's got a bit more strength, as you can see here. He has 8 compared to Kent's 6. Kent is a bit faster, and also has more skill. I suppose I can just do this. Sane also does have end up having a bit more luck than Kent too in the long run, but defenses-wise, they're pretty comparable. HP-wise, they're pretty comparable. They have the same constitution, the same movement, obviously because they're the same class. That being said, there's no way to distinguish them apart on the overworld board here. You just kind of hover over them so you can see which one it is. But other than that, they look exactly the same. Lind is a unique unit, so she'll always be able to pick her out in a crowd. There is no other unit that looks exactly like her sprite-wise. So there's 4 dudes here. Oh, 5 dudes, excuse me, because there's one hiding up here too. And you can see our objective is to defeat the enemy, and there are 5 left. So if I click on these dudes, you can see they have a much bigger range of movement because they are on horseback. However, they cannot move as swiftly through trees. They can move through them, but at a much reduced rate. So notice that to cross through this forest, I only have a movement of 5 instead of my 7. Actually applies to just about everybody, but Lynn doesn't take as much of a penalty. She can move over here too. Kent and Sane, I believe, both have swords and lances. They are cavaliers, so they get mounted lances and swords as well. And you can see Kent is better with swords than he is with lances, and Sane is the opposite. He is better with lances than he is with swords starting out. That being said, you can improve them both at the same rate, so if you want, you can just give Kent exclusively a lance to use and he'll get better with it. And then, oh yeah, so Sane's only got a lance. Well, Kent came prepared. He's got a sword, a lance, and a potion, as it were. So I generally favor Kent in these playthroughs. He's just a little more reliable with his stat growths. That's been my the way that I've interpreted it anyway. That's what I always ends up happening. If I raise them side by side, Sane will always end up being inferior to Kent, generally speaking. But if you want to have more of a beat stick cavalier, then definitely use Sane. His strength growth is much higher. But if you want someone who's a little bit more of a generalist, Kent is the guy you want. So I'm probably going to be primarily using Kent for this. And in fact, I'm going to get him over here. Because as you can see, he can move here next to this brigand, and Lynn can go here to finish him off. So that's what we're going to do. In fact, I might just have Lynn initiate, so Kent can get the kill. Unless, of course, she crits. Which is not likely at 4%, but I've seen stranger things. It's kind of ridiculous how often crits at low percentages happen, actually. It defies all logic and reasoning. So, as you can see, if I were to use a lance on this guy, he has an axe, so I would have the disadvantage, as you can see by the colored arrows there. So I would rather not do that. So I'll use the sword instead, and that will give me the advantage. And actually, you can see it right here, too, if you look on the little bottom part there. If I switch from my sword to my lance, my attack will go up, but my hit rate goes down, because the innate hit rate on the sword is higher than the lance. Swords are much lighter and easier to hit with when compared to lances, and lances are also quite a bit heavier, as you can see. But they are a bit stronger as well. I believe swords are the weakest, generally speaking, out of the 4 weapon types. Lances are quite a bit stronger. Axes are the strongest, but they also have an abysmal hit rate generally, and bows are kind of in the middle in terms of power and weight. But they're also the most accurate because, you know, it's a bow. So we're going to go with the sword against this guy and get the kill off. I have no chance of missing. The horse movements on these animations is a little exaggerated, but it doesn't bug me. And then Scent, his name is Sane. I'm going to park him right over here for backup in case I need him. He's going to have a hard time against the brigands, though, because he's only got the lance. So if I were to come down here and fight against this guy, and you can see I've only got a 47% chance to hit him, probably because he's in the forest. And you can see there the forest gives him a 20% bonus to avoid on top of the bonus he gets from having a triangle advantage. And he's also got an extra defense point in the forest. So when you have the option to be on defensive terrain, you generally want to fight from there if possible. So I'm going to move Lynn here. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to weaken this guy a little bit so Kent can kill him. We want to level up Kent so he's about the same as Lynn. That's what I try to do, is keep all my units about the same level. Holy crap. Oh, there's a crit, which looks awesome. So, not my intention, but you know, I'll take it. So, yeah, crits are really cool. Crits will always do triple the damage that they show they will do in that little screen. So, when it said I did 7 damage to that brigand, if you crit, you'll do 21. It doesn't triple your total attack right here, it just triples the damage that you deal after you factored in their defense. And then we'll park Kent. Oh, let's park Kent up here. Maybe he can tank that guy. And then we'll have Sane back here as a backup. Oh yeah, there we go. So even though this guy's in the forest, I still got a really decent chance to hit him. And he's still got an axe, so he's still got a crappy chance to hit me. That being said, Kent can definitely take quite a few more hits than Lynn. Lynn has, what, 2 defense? And Kent's got 6, or 5, excuse me, so, yeah, more than double. And I can't quite finish him off. Might be able to weaken him with Sane a bit. If I can hit him, that's a good question. Yeah, we'll give it a try, why not? Oh, look at that, I got him. Probably gonna take a hit from that. Yep, there we go. Generally speaking, if you're trying to initiate on somebody and you have sub 70% chance to hit and you really, really need to kill them, don't rely too much on it. I know 70 sounds like a pretty good percentage. It's generally not quite as reliable as you might think. Anything above 80, you'll almost always hit. Anything below 40 and you'll almost never hit. Unless you're these guys, apparently. I'm going to actually park him here so he goes for Kent and not Sane, so... And one more kill and he should level up. Oh, jeez. Alright, well... Yeah, once you start getting to higher levels, those hit numbers and those guys are going to start dropping precipitously. Like, later in the game, when Lynn's, like, level 10 or 15, literally anybody with an axe is incapable of hitting her. It's kind of ridiculous. That's funny. Sane, even with the disadvantage, can still kill this guy in one hit. Can't double him, so you know what? Let's let Sane have a kill. Why not? Assuming I can actually hit this guy. Although, if I miss and he hits back, I'm going to die. So why don't I park here, and I'll let him come to me. Yeah, that hurts. Oh, and I missed. Awesome. Well, that's okay. I'll just finish this guy off. I wonder... Nope. So here's the thing with that. Notice how the damage doesn't change when I switch between the weapons, even though the lance is stronger. That's because the sword is good against him and gets damage, it gets a bonus damage, and the lance is weak and gets damage reduction, so it ends up evening out. So you generally want to go with the one you have a better chance with. You know, I'm just going to have Lynn kill this guy. I'll save the boss for Kent. And, oh, shit, I just realized if he hits her... Oh, no, he's good. Yeah, that was kind of dumb. If he hit her, he would have killed her, and that would have been start over. But Lynn gets a level up to level 3. Not so great, but I'll take the resistance. Generally speaking, if you get at least 3 or 4 stats on a level up, it's a good one. 1 or 2, not so great. It's possible for units to get nothing when they level up, and that's really, really bad. But that generally won't happen until they've maxed out some of their stats. Like, once Lynn maxes out her skill and her speed, she won't have a chance of increasing much else. And sometimes that will happen. So we're going to park Kent up here. What's the damage? You can take 1 hit from that guy and survive, so we're just going to park him here. I'll bring Sane up behind him, because he's his friend. Oh, here's something I can show you. So, Rescue. That's a thing that's only in the Game Boy games. Well, it's in GameCube and Wii as well, but it's not in some of the newer ones. They decided to go with Pair Up instead of Rescue. So, if you look at their con, that's how big they are. Now, the Aid, that's how much of a con of another unit they can pick up when they rescue them. And the reason why... It's normally 1 lower than they are big. So Lynn can carry someone who's 4 because she's a 5. That's how it is with everybody who's on foot. If they're mounted, it actually takes their con subtracted from 25 and gives you the rest as aid. So however, the horse effectively has space to carry 25 worth of weight. And however much the person who's mounted on the horse weighs, they subtract from that. So 25 minus 9 is 16, because Sane is 9 constitution size, so he can carry someone who weighs 16. Which is a lot. And it's the same thing for units who are like flying on Pegasus or on a dragon or something, but for infantry units, it's just 1 less than their current size. And what Rescue does... I'm not going to do it because I don't want to ruin this, but if I were to rescue Kent, for example, I would take him off the board, and he would occupy the same spot as Sane. And Sane would get a little blip on the bottom next to him, like where that boss shield is, but it'd be a little blue person. And that would indicate that he has rescued somebody. His skill and speed would both be cut in half, because he's not quite as agile or nimble, because he's holding on to somebody. But effectively, if someone is in danger of being killed, and they're in a vulnerable spot and they can't get out of it, like they've already moved, you can run over with somebody and rescue them and pick them up and get them out of harm's way with that. Very useful for, like, if you're training units, training low-level units, and they can't quite hold their own. You walk in, have them get a hit, and then rescue them and get them out. You cannot rescue and drop a person in the same turn. For example, if I were to rescue him, my turn would be over. If somebody else were to walk next to them, they could take that person away from them and then drop them in the same turn. So if you have 3 people, you can hit, you can rescue, and you can take and drop in the same turn, which I do a lot when I'm training people. Also, when 2 units are next to each other and they're friendly, they can trade with one another. So I can actually give Sane this potion, so he actually has one instead of not having one like an idiot. And you can trade anything back and forth, but you'll see that each unit has a limited space of 5 slots. That is for weapons, and that is for potions and everything else. So we're going to give Sane that potion, and then once you trade with somebody, that's your turn. The thing with horse units, though, and any mounted units in general, if they didn't attack, like if they just moved and traded or moved and rescued, they get to move the rest of their movement. So you see, I moved 2 squares to help Lynn, or 3 squares to help or trade with Lynn, and now I can move the rest of my 4. I can't attack, but I can just move somewhere else. So we're going to park next to Kent like I wanted to in the first place. This guy thinks he's super cool. Oh, come on with these. sub 50% chance to hit. I guess it's about 50. I shouldn't be quite so salty about that. That being said, I am going to actually use the vulnerability that I've already used, rather than draining a new one. Heal up Ken so we can take a couple more hits. I'm just going to leave him there so we can tank that guy. And he keeps getting hit. That's super cool. And, okay, that's good. Speed, defense, resistance. That's actually a nice level up for him. Kent generally won't get strength, because like I said, Sane is the strengthy one. Is that a word? Strengthy? And we'll just finish this guy off and finish the chapter. And Kent's actually going to level up again. Generally when you beat a boss, you get a full level of experience. Unless you really out-level them, then you don't quite get a full level. Maybe, what, 80 or 70 experience? Okay, you didn't quite get there. Next time, though. Yeah, there was only 5. Wasn't that big a deal. You get one of the few artwork panels in here. It's highly pixelated because this is the Game Boy Advance, everybody. This is actually a pretty major story point right here, so... Marquess? It's not actually Marquess. I learned it's pronounced Marquis. So, Marquis technically being like, you know, the regional governor or the count or something to that effect is what that means. I didn't know what that meant when I was 15. I'm like, what the hell's a Marquess? But... So when you see that title, it means like the ruling lord of the territory, basically. Would you look at that? Yep, so they, like I said, they did make Lynn 18 in the US release, but in Japan she's 15. Not sure why they had the discrepancy when she looks exactly the same. Japan. Oh, snap! No, how cute. Well, that sucks. Yep, that's how they know it's her. She looks just like her mom. Well, I mean, she always had a grandfather. She just didn't know who he was or where he lived. Lundgren. He is a dick. Yeah, how lovely is that? It's like Game of Thrones level stuff. So Lynn, turns out, is actually, well, not quite a princess, but, you know, more or less. She's the granddaughter of the Lord, so she's nobility. Hence why her class is Lord, even though she didn't know that's what she was. As if I have a choice, of course! Alright, so that's chapter 1, and looks like I ran a little longer than I wanted to again, but that's okay, I'm explaining stuff. So I'm going to call it right here for chapter 1, and we'll pick up with chapter 2 in the next episode. So for now, enjoy the rest of your evening. I have been Seraphin. Good night.